All right, everyone. Welcome back to Sports Flow with BK and Speaks. Today's episode will be a little bit of a unique one here, Speaks.
A little different.
Little different, but we figured we would give something back to our fans out there and give them a little bit of information.
Absolutely.
For their fantasy football teams here going into the 2024-2025 season. Just kind of give you a little bit of information on players that we're looking at in the draft and why we're kind of looking at them. And then we're also going to touch base a little bit on some of the sleepers at the position where we'll be looking in the later rounds.
Gotta love the sleepers.
Yeah, they'll win your leagues for you just about every year. But, I mean, the reason I think that this might be somewhat valuable to you is I have a lot of experience in fantasy football. I've been playing for about 20 years here now, Speaks.
They don't call him BK the King for no reason.
Yeah, I've won a couple of leagues here and there, and I usually finish towards the top. And my theory that I've found to be successful with having that success is I always like to analyze the statistical numbers of the players.
Smart.
Yeah, you got it. Numbers don't lie.
No,
right?
They don't.
And then I also like to find the players who are consistent, producing those numbers every season. Not a guy who's up and down.
That's huge. Consistency is everything in fantasy football. So you want to find those consistent guys week in, week out, every Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you want to make sure that you can lock them in for that point total. And then the other thing that I really do, and I think this is valuable as well, is I don't reach for certain position groups, and I draft on positional value rather than the flash in the name.
And that's very important. You don't want to be reaching for players just because they're the big names out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the other side of that, too, is people get locked in on wanting to have a certain player based off of who they're cheering for team-wise. Like, obviously, I'd like to have a whole bunch of Lions players as a Lions fan, but sometimes that doesn't make sense for the best interest of my fantasy team.
That doesn't win you a championship.
No, it doesn't. You got to dive outside of what your main fandom is and kind of make that move.
Got to separate the two.
Yeah, it's absolutely necessary to win leagues. But with that, let's dive into the big board.
Let's do it, baby.
Tell you a little bit about who we're thinking are the guys to get this year. We're going to look at top three prospects for each position, guys that we're kind of focusing in on those position groups. And then we're also going to talk about, where we think they're going to be going in the draft based off of what we're seeing.
Yep.
That will be helpful with kind of guiding you on where you should be looking at those players. But we'll do that, and then we'll also give you those sleeper picks like we were telling you about. But let's dive into it right out of the gates with quarterbacks. It's tough not to put Josh Allen here in top
biggest position.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest position, they always score the most points. There's a lot of parity when you get to the middle rounds. We'll get into that. But when you're talking about Josh Allen, I mean, the guy had 392 fantasy points last year. I mean, nobody was even close to that. He's going to be close to 400 again this year, I think.
If not more.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that people are going to be intimidated about with him is, he's lost Stephon Diggs. He's losing weapons on that offense. But when you look at it, I mean, it just means his running attack is going to get more involved.
More potent.
Yeah, and when you have the running and the passing attack with the quarterback spot in fantasy football, that's where you get a lot of points. What are you thinking about it, Speaks?
Yeah, and I would argue even the other direction. He doesn't have the drama that Diggs brought anymore. He can cool down there. He can enjoy himself a little bit more. He doesn't have to worry about going to the sideline and Diggs being like, get me the ball. He can just play his game now. So I feel like the pressure is going to be off of him. Not to mention, second half of the year, they ran the ball more than anyone in the NFL, which you kind of touched on. I think this is going to set up for Josh Allen to be more poised and consistent and have a bigger year than he's ever had before. I see big things from Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think he'll be a great pick for whoever gets him in the drafts.
Yeah.
He's going to be the first quarterback taken, almost certainly he will be.
Yeah.
It's going to be probably in the late third round is where people are going to be starting to look at Josh Allen. He might slip to the early fourth, but if you're looking to get him on your team, I think the mid-third is kind of going to be where you're going to want to select him there. The next guy, man, Lamar Jackson.
The Flash.
I mean, every year the guy brings it, running the football, passing the football. Quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. Josh Allen, obviously the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. But when you're talking about with the Ravens, I mean, this offense should be high-flying again this year, should be better for him in the running attack with how much teams are going to have to focus on Derrick Henry, the big addition in the offseason. I think his running game gets going. He had 331 last year, missed a couple games there. I think his rushing attack gets going a little bit more this year. And I think, he's due for a massive season where he finishes top 3 in the position group.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Lamar Jackson is the real deal. He said he was fat last year, and it slowed him down. So if he's saying he was fat and slowed down this year, he does look skinnier. Watch the fuck out. I mean, this guy is going to go off. I love everything about Lamar. He's quarterback in one of my dynasty leagues, and I start him every week, and he never lets me down.
Yeah, he won me a championship last year.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy has the
reigning
ability,
MVP, is he not?
Guy has the ability to swing the matchup for the entire week. I mean, you love to have him on your team. 4th round is where people are mostly selecting him, but I expect him to be the 2nd or 3rd quarterback off the board in most of your leagues. Jalen Hurts is the last guy that we're kind of focusing on as the big guys in this position group. Yep. When you're talking Hurts, I mean, Philly's offense is loaded.
They got more loaded.
Yeah, with Saquon being added to it. I mean, they just had the trade today where they pulled in Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I saw that. That's a nice little move, I thought.
Nice little pickup for him. I mean, I think, they're just continuing to build that offense. And Hurts, he just has to sling it out to these playmakers on the outside, let him make some plays. And then with his rushing ability, I mean, you talk about it again. He had 15 rushing touchdowns last year.
Animal.
I expect he'll have somewhere close to that again this year. And having Saquon in the offense is only going to open up running lanes for him, too. I think he's going to go in the 3rd.
Yeah, I think the play action is going to open stuff up with Barkley. I mean, A.J. Brown, he had kind of a down year for him, and I don't think that's going to continue. I think he's going to have a really big year this year. And then you got the Grim Reaper, who's always doing his thing. He's the real deal. So Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni have a lot to prove this year, and I think they're up for the challenge. Their relationship, they've been very transparent with one another. I see nothing but big things out of Jalen.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's due for another big year.
When the pressure's on this dude, he seems to fucking thrive.
Yeah, he brings it to the table.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not worried about Jalen.
Yeah, he's going to be probably going in that 4th round, right with Lamar Jackson there, right in that range. And, for good reason. I think he'll have another very productive year here. But then when we're looking at the sleepers,
These win championships, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, especially at the quarterback spot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will reach in the 3rd or 4th round for those quarterbacks because you want to have the big name, the high scores. It's a great luxury pick. But, I mean, when you're talking quarterbacks in the mid-tier is basically scoring the same amount of fantasy.
You can build your team elsewhere doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of take a step back, build up the running back and wide receiver spots, which I think are the most valuable.
And because they have the most injuries.
Yep. You got to have a core of them.
Yep.
I think, focusing on the running back wide receiver is kind of the smartest way to go.
Yep.
But if you get value with any of those top 3 guys, you got to take it.
Absolutely. If they're there, you're not reaching, you're selected.
Yeah, you just got to take them at that point. But when we're talking sleeper right out of the gates, the guy that comes to my mind is Tua. I mean, that Miami offense is high flying. He's got weapons on the outside.
They added another weapon in OBJ.
Yeah, I mean, it just continues. A-Chain's back from injury. I think he's going to have another killer year, and he's looking like he's going to go in the 11th round.
I like what I'm hearing out of him, too, this offseason. I mean, he's being true to himself. I think he's going to be potent again.
Yeah, I think he'll be focused. I think he's in for, top 10, top 12 numbers, and getting that in the 11th round is pretty valuable. And then Purdy, obviously, is another name.
Love me Brock Purdy, man.
Yeah, one of the highest scorers in all of fantasy last year, came out of nowhere. He is operating in the lead horse in that high-powered San Francisco offense.
Kyle Shanahan, man, he's a juggernaut.
It's unbelievable what he does with this. But when you look at it, I mean, Purdy's going to have another big year because the weapons around him are going to have a big year.
As long as Ayuk comes back, which all indications are pointing that he will. I mean, Debo doing his thing. McCaffrey. I mean, it's just. Did I mention Kittle? I mean, it goes on and on over there, man.
Weapons after weapons.
Yeah.
And they got him going in the 8th round. So it's like when you're looking at it that way, I mean, he could be an outstanding value pick for you there if you're trying to get the quarterback shored up before we get to the late rounds. But when we're also talking about the late rounds, I don't know why this guy continues to slide.
Jared Goff.
Yeah, I mean, especially with how high powered the Lions' offense is, I expect Jared Goff, the quarterback out of the Lions, to have a monster season this year. I mean, the Lions' offense looks like it's high powered. It's going to be high flying again. They're going to score a ton of points. He's running the show. He's going to get a lot of points with that, and they got him going in the 11th round. I think that's a steal there, Speaks.
Oh, it's a huge steal. Goff is going to be nothing but better than he was last year. He just got the contract extension. He's comfortable. Just went to the NFC Championship. We're going to build off that. You just watch. Goff is going to have a sneaky, I say top 5 quarterback year, if not top 3. So,
really? You think he's going that high?
Yeah. I see a lot of big things from Goff, and I think he might bring home the Lombardi to the old Lions this year. So, yeah,
Boy,
if you can get him there, that is a steal.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think he's in for a massive season. I think the only thing when I'm looking at fantasy point-wise is Goff's going to help you a lot in the passing attack. He's not going to get you a lot in the running.
No.
So don't think he's going to get the same amount of points.
He has wheels, man. Come
on. But when you're talking about, just throwing ability, the numbers and the consistency, Goff has definitely got some major value.
And Jameson's going to go off this year. So, Goff has great value.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one there. Now we're going to dive into the running backs. Obviously, right out of the gates, right when you start talking about the running backs, first one you got to mention, if he's on your board, you select him right away.
No doubt.
Christian McCaffrey, the running back out of San Francisco. Every year, this guy just goes absolutely ballistic.
Dude loves football.
And his fantasy production is the highest.
Out of this world.
Honestly, championships follow this guy in fantasy.
Yeah.
If you have Christian McCaffrey, you have a very good chance of winning it that year because he is
that good.
Last year, he posted 391 points in the PPR, which is absolutely insane, and 324 for non-PPR. That is far and away past anybody.
He just does everything, man.
Catches the ball, runs the ball, everything. 14 rushing touchdowns, 5 receiving touchdowns. In Kyle Shanahan's offense, lock him in as your number 1 pick again this year.
There's no doubt, man. Everything he does is valuable. You want him on your squad. It's not a reach for this guy. This dude's the real deal.
Yeah, he's it. If you're selecting
he's him.
One guy, that's it.
Yeah.
Kyren Williams, running back out of LA Rams, is the second guy on my list. Honestly, Kyren Williams won me many leagues last year. Picking him up.
He had a big year last year, man.
Yeah, and I picked him up on the waiver wire.
Yeah.
When you get a guy like that on the waiver wire, it completely changes the whole landscape of your roster.
Oh, it helps so much when you can do that.
Yeah, and he posted 255 in points in PPR, which was the second highest in the league, and then 223 in non-PPR. Unbelievably productive when he sees the field and gets the ball. Kyren Williams is as good as it gets with that, and I project him for the early second round, and I think you're getting a steal with him because his production when he plays is a consistent 15 every week.
Yeah, and he's going to have fresh legs this year because he's going to be riding a 2-headed monster with Blake Corum. So I think he is a great value pick, and I'd swoop him up if I could get him as well.
Yeah, I think Corum's going to play a factor here.
Yeah,
Corum
big time.
He's a very good running back coming into that system. They're raving about him in camp. I think Corum will take a little bit of the share away from Kyren.
Exactly.
Which might hurt his points numbers a little bit. But I don't think it's going to disappear. I think he's still going to be a consistent top performer with the way they use him in that offense. I see him finishing probably in the top 6 again this year in running backs.
Yeah, I'd say top 6, top 8. He's going to have a big year. And like I already mentioned, with Corum there now, it's going to make him, have fresher legs. And I think he's going to, really flourish with having a 2-headed monster helping him out.
I would agree with you. I think, it's just going to help him. And now we're going to get into my favorite guy on my board.
Everyone loves this guy.
This guy is the guy that I am trying to get in just about every league this year because I think he's in for a massive season. I'm talking about Derrick Henry, the running back out of the Baltimore Ravens.
The big fella.
Henry has been trapped in this Tennessee offense for
anyhow
forever, and where he has had nobody around him, no sort of weapons to take any of the pressure off him. At non-PPR, he basically it does not help you in the receiving aspect at all.
He's a rusher.
But what he does for you is he is going to ground and pound. He's pretty much a consistent 100 yards a game and a touchdown.
With him and Lamar, are you kidding me?
And that offensive line?
Yeah, and that offensive line, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, 255 points in PPR last year and 218 in non-PPR. I mean, the guy had a mega season.
He did.
And you're looking
he's not slowing down either.
He's not slowing down, and with that attack, I think he's going to have a massive year.
Rejuvenated being out of Tennessee.
Yeah, everybody's got him kind of going in the second round there. I'm going to target him early in the second. I think he's in for a massive season again this year, and we'll finish in the top 3 running backs in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll have another big year, and I think he'll finish top 5 in the running back. So, yeah, you get Henry if you can get Henry.
Yeah, the value will be there.
Yeah.
Sleeper picks at the running back spot. A little bit of later round selections where if you wait on the running back a little bit, try to reach for that quarterback.
First one, BK.
Right out of the gates, the guy that I got to mention here is Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to be writing him off. I know he ripped up that knee pretty good. They're saying he's going to kind of return week 6 at the earliest is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're going to have to play a little bit of a waiting game with him, but I think when Chubb comes back, you're going to get a guy who's going to elevate your team in a way that you're going to be able to win leagues with Nick Chubb. Like, I think Chubb will be a top 10 back once he gets back to full health, and he's looking like he's going to go right in that 9th round, 8th round, and if you can get him there, I think that's unbelievable value.
Yeah, and we all know Cleveland's offensive line's good, and you're going to have Watson back. I think Nick Chubb's a great sleeper pick. I don't think he's done by any means. He's come back from, other serious injuries, and, he's a great running back when he's healthy. So I think that's a great sleeper, BK.
Yeah, and he's in that Cleveland Browns offense.
Yeah.
And they got a really good defense, and they love to run the football. So it's a great value if you can get him in the later rounds.
Agreed.
Another guy that I'm looking at kind of in the late 3rd is Alvin Kamara. I mean, he's going to fall to this spot. Then, you got to look at the value with him. And when Kamara plays, the point production is just incredible.
Yeah, he's on my Dynasty League, and there is no downside to having Kamara on your team. He always shows out. In the run game, the pass game, he's going to get you. He's going to get you points. So I think that's a great sleeper and value added pick there.
Yeah, I think he will have a much better season than he had last year.
Same.
And Rashard White is the next guy on my list, the running back out of Tampa Bay. I mean,
speedster.
At the end of last season, man, like the guy was just incredible.
Yep.
He was a lock for basically 15 points a game. He helps in the receiving aspect and the running aspect. So if it's PPR, you should value him a little bit higher. But they got him going in the 3rd round too, and I think he could very easily be a 2nd round pick with how good he was last year late.
Yeah, I mean, I think he might be a 2nd round pick with how good he was late. Everyone remembers, what'd you do for me now? Well, he had a pretty damn good end to the year last year. So people are going to remember that. So, I think he's a great pick.
Yeah, he would be incredibly good value there.
Yeah,
if you were able to get
there's
him.
no doubt about that.
And then as we start looking way down the board a little bit further towards the Nick Chubb range, J.K. Dobbins, they're projecting him to go in the 10th. And I know the guy cannot stay healthy, and he has not stayed healthy his entire career. But it's worth the gamble in the 10th with him being in Harbaugh's system, knowing that Harbaugh is going to want to run the football. And if he stays healthy with that offensive line that they've built over there, he could be in for a top 15 running back season. And that is insane value to get there in the 10th.
Anytime you're on a Harbaugh team, you're going to be running it in the trenches, up the gut. You're going to have opportunities. So if he stays healthy, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be his best season if he stays healthy.
If he stays healthy, absolutely. I mean, Harbaugh, that's what he does.
Yeah, runs the football.
Yeah, it's no secret.
Yeah, and then when you're looking at another guy in the later rounds, this guy I have projected kind of going in the 9th round there. It's Zach Moss.
Okay.
He's the starter in Cincy this year. They moved on from Joe Mixon. And he was the starter in Indianapolis last year for a large chunk of time. Had a lot of success in that role there. I think he's going to step into the Cincy offense, kind of take over that lead back role. And I think at the 9th round value, you're going to probably get an RB3 out of that,
Yeah.
which is incredibly good value.
Yeah, 9th round. I think he's going to get the majority of the touches over there. I think that's a great little steal pick right there.
Yeah, yeah. And like when it comes down to it, Speaks, running back is the most important position in winning your fantasy football leagues.
Yeah, I'd agree with you 100%.
It is. And like you can say it's the receivers and it's a passing game now and all these different things. But when you look at it, running backs who play meaningful minutes on a consistent basis will add stability to your roster and also give you that consistency.
Yep.
And I like to think of running backs as being the pillars of my team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're what holds it all together. And if you can get running backs at good value here or some of these top guys, you should feel really good about your draft.
Yeah, because you can pick up a wide receiver that has a fluke week and balls out. You don't find that with running backs. Like once they're all taken, or there's that one guy on the waiver wire that everyone's going after, like after week 1 or 2 after they ball out. They're just not there like the wide receivers are.
No, you're right. I mean, it's just you can get a wide receiver who has a breakout.
Yeah, like exactly. You can get lucky with that.
But running backs,
no.
Barring an injury, that's not going to happen.
No. They changed their offense around.
Yeah. It's one of those things that a lot of people don't think about with fantasy football, but running backs is where I focus. And then I focus on this position next. Wide receiver is the next position that I'll focus on. And we'll go into the wide receiver big board here. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson are the best wide receivers fantasy-wise every season. Like these guys put up massive numbers. They score almost like a halfback. They will be first-round picks in your draft. Now, I like a lot of these guys. Tyreek's in for another big year.
Oh, yeah.
CeeDee Lamb in for a big year if he plays. Jefferson, who knows about the quarterback? So it's a little sketchy with him there,
but too. He usually still gets his yards with the scrubs that he has over there.
Best receiver in the game, that's going to happen. And then Jamar Chase is the other one. But two of these guys we have to talk about here because Chase and Lamb are both in contract disputes going on.
Yeah, they sure are.
And Chase it's thought to be that Chase might hold out if he does not have a new contract.
I think he will.
So if Chase holds out, drafting him in the first round becomes very dangerous. And then CeeDee Lamb is kind of in that same boat where he is not happy in Jerry World down there in Dallas.
No, he isn't.
And he will probably play it out, but like there could be a holdout situation there too.
Yeah. I mean, he's done it before with Emmitt Smith for 2 games.
It's crazy. But to say that about these 2 top guys, but both these guys, it's...
Well, the wide receiver market's just gone through the roof. That's why I'm a little happy we signed Amon when we did.
I mean, that's a separate issue that we can talk about in another episode, but quarterbacks have tapen over the entire cap space of the league, and it is starting to have a domino.
Yeah, no, that is very true. Yeah, we'll get into that on another
episode. But once you get past those top 4 guys, and you're looking at guys who are a little bit more value range, you want to go, 2 running backs right out of the gates or whatever the case. These are the guys that I'm looking at in those top rounds right after to kind of seal up my wide receiver spot. I'm looking right off the gates at Cooper Kupp.
Oh, yeah.
Wide receiver out of the LA Rams, first round pick last year in every draft, target monster. Everybody thinks that since Puka Nacua has come on at such a big role that Cooper Kupp is just going to disappear.
Cooper Kupp's still no one, man.
He's still the one there.
Yeah.
And Kupp's going to continue to get the targets, and he's going to continue to be a big part of that LA Rams offense. They got him going in the 4th round. I think that's an absolute steal if you can get him in the 3rd or 4th round this year.
Oh, Kupp's going to have a great year if he stays healthy. He still has the same quarterback. Stafford and him didn't lose their chemistry. I think if you can get him in the 4th round, I mean, snatch him up, man. I think Stafford's going to have a big year. I think Kupp's going to have a big year. I think the Rams are a damn good football team.
Yeah, they're going to be tough again this year.
Yeah, they are.
Yep. I think Kupp's incredible value. I'd keep an eye on him. Next guy on my list, kind of right in that same range. Jalen Waddle seems to be falling. He's the wide receiver out of Miami, plays on the other side of Tyreek.
Gets hurt quite a bit.
He does have an injury bug.
Yeah.
That is the scary thing with what you're getting with Waddle. but he consistently also finishes in the top 10 of wide receivers.
When he's in, he's getting points and making plays.
Yeah, I mean, he is as explosive as it gets on the outside and still a big part of that Miami offense.
Yep.
They're kind of looking at him going in the 4th round there too.
All right.
And I think if you can get him in the 4th round and you're getting a guy who's going to be a top 15 receiver, top 12 receiver, you got to feel pretty good about that one.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I remember he used to go in the 2nd round all the time. So if you're getting him in the 4th round with the contributions that he does to a fantasy football team points-wise, scoop him up.
Yeah. Yeah, it will put you in a good spot.
Yep.
To build off that wide receiver core. And then the last guy, this is an intriguing piece. I don't know what it's going to look like, but they don't have him rated very high. And the guy I'm talking about is Stephon Diggs, the wide receiver over in Houston.
I love Stephon Diggs' game, man.
He was great with Buffalo when him and Allen were meshing. I think C.J. Stroud gets his number one weapon here. He's going to be big in a high-powered Houston offense. And I think when you're looking at it, the upside, because they got him going in the 4th round here, right?
Yeah.
Space. They're looking at him going in the 4th, which is crazy to me because I think
when you're just a no-one receiver on his whole team.
Yeah, and his upside is 1st or 2nd round.
Yeah, and this could take Stroud to the next level, man. He hasn't had a no-one receiver yet.
Yeah, Nico was good for him last year.
He was good, but I don't think he's a no-one.
Not like Stephon Diggs.
No, not like Stephon.
And so it's like you look at that, and I think, he could be in for a big year there.
Same.
They're looking at him in the 4th round. If he's in the 4th round, I think he's a great gamble pick if you're looking to try to strike big with a wide receiver at that point.
And he's going to be rejuvenated, too, and have something to prove, wanting to leave Buffalo like he did. So he's going to have a big year.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's got something to prove.
Same.
Yeah. And when we're looking at the sleeper targets in the wide receiver area, I think, there's a few here that we have that are further down the board that, like you mentioned earlier, could be coming on the scene. And these wide receiver picks become very valuable.
Very, very, very valuable. And I like some of these names that we got on here, so let's jump into them.
Right out of the gates, let's talk about Ladd McConkey. I mean, he goes over to the Chargers this year in the NFL draft, and he's been the number one target who's impressing in training camp for him. They got him valued in the late 8th round to be drafted. He's over at the Chargers. He's going to be the number one target.
No more Keenan Allen.
No more Keenan. They got to throw the ball to someone.
Yep.
I mean, I think Ladd McConkey is going to be close to a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 this year. You can get him in the 8th round. You got to feel real good about that.
Yeah, I think he's a great pick. He's going to get a lot of targets. They don't really have a lot of other big pieces there with, the trades they make. And, Harbaugh's trying to rebuild that roster over there.
Yeah. I think, he'll be the number one guy for Justin Herbert, who is no slouch of a quarterback.
No, dude's a stud of a quarterback, and if he stays healthy, watch the hell out with him too.
Yeah, exactly. But McConkey could be great value for you.
And he has Harbaugh now, so I think it's going to be even more elevated. That old coach they had, I don't even remember his name, but my God, did he make some bonehead decisions?
Yes, he did, yeah.
My God.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes, but I think McConkey's in for a big year.
Yeah.
When next on the list, I'm looking at Amari Cooper, man. Cleveland Browns, still the number one receiver.
He's still a great receiver, man.
Every year
he balls out, man.
And they got him going in the late 6th, 5th round. Like, it's just crazy.
That's nuts they have him going that late because that dude still produces amazingly every week.
Yeah.
Every year.
I'd be looking at him in the 5th round. I mean, the dude's going to be a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 for you. He probably will end up in the top 10 receivers like he does every year.
Yeah.
And you're getting him in
consistency.
the 5th. Yeah, 5th or the 6th round.
Yeah.
So we talk about consistency. Amari Cooper is one of those consistent guys.
100% agree.
Now we're talking about a gamble pick.
A gamble pick, but this is a gamble I like.
It could pay off for you. Jamison Williams, Detroit Lions, obviously, wide receiver. Going to be the number 2 target.
He's looking good in training camp.
Having a monster camp. They got him going in the 11th round, Speaks. And I mean, if J-Mo flies in this offense, like we think he's going to fly in this offense.
Like we've been saying.
He's going to be a top 15, top 20 guy.
Damn right.
And getting him in the 11th round could change your entire landscape of your roster.
Oh, absolutely. His route running's so crisp this season. Everyone sees the dedication he's put in. He's one of the first guys there. Last guy's gone. He's just totally changed his demeanor. Says he wants to be the best receiver ever to play the game. He has all the intangibles to do so.
Oh, I agree. I mean, the speed, the athleticism.
You can't teach the speed.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And, like, I'd be looking at him in the 10th. Like, I mean, if people are targeting him in the 11th, I like to get ahead of it. I think that's the guy that I'd be kind of looking at there.
Yep.
Next guy, I mean, similar concept. Xavier Worthy over in Kansas City.
Just keep getting him weapons, man.
Yeah, Mahomes gets a speedy weapon. I've seen this one play out before.
Yeah, right? My God.
Worthy is going to have a big year because they're going to incorporate him into the offense based off of his speed.
And Mahomes' arm.
And Mahomes' ability to throw the football. They got him kind of going in the 8th round here. I'm going to be looking at him in the 7th probably. I mean, you're talking this guy could be in for a top 12 wide receiver year.
He could be getting more touches, too, because we don't know if Rice is going to be suspended for his offseason problems. So, I mean, he's a great value-added pick there as a sleeper because he could be moving up the depth chart.
Yeah, and if he's not even moving up the depth chart,
the
plays that Andy Reid's going to dial up for Xavier Worthy over in Kansas City is going to give him the ability to get in space, make plays. They got other guys you got to focus on that offense. I think Worthy's a very good gamble in this round.
Yeah, and I even like Rice, his counterpart over there. I think he had a great little run, 10 the season last year, big playoffs, showed up in the Super Bowl. If it wasn't for him being on the team, they might not won the Super Bowl.
No.
So, yeah, it's another good pick.
I mean, Kansas City in general.
You
can get any piece of that offense. It's usually pretty good.
That's very true. Andy Reid knows what he's doing over there.
Yeah, but like we were talking about with the running back, so wide receivers are almost just as valuable. I mean, playing time and targets is an absolute thing that you have to have. It's just like touches as a running back. If you're getting targets, you're getting catches, means you're going to get more yards. The more consistent that is how we're kind of analyzing the receivers here. I think dominant wide receivers can change the landscape of your matchup quickly. But overall, if you're getting solid production out of your receivers when you have the pillars at running back, you're going to be feeling pretty good about your roster.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree with you more. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with everything you said there. So let's move into these tight ends, baby.
Yeah, I mean, right out of the gates, you got to look at the top tight ends again. And the top tight end this year, for the first time, I think, in the last 7 years, because Travis Kelce has kind of just held over this position, Sam Laporta is now the top tight end in all of football. Most targets, most yards, all the things. He's going to be another focal point of the Lions offense again this year. Travis Kelce is another name. Obviously, they're a big part of that Kansas City offense that we said you might want to get a piece of.
You might want to get a piece of that.
And then Mark Andrews, too, who's the
Mr. Consistency
tight end over in Baltimore.
Yeah, that's Lamar's little security blanket. He got hurt last year. I expect nothing but a big year from Andrews, my man. He's awesome. Andrews is consistent as they come.
Yeah, I mean, you know what you're going to get with all three of those guys.
Yep.
And like when you're looking at draft value with them, mid-third is kind of where everybody's kind of thinking for Laporta and Kelce. You might be able to get Andrews in the 4th, but that's kind of where they're looking at the value draft-wise for those guys if you're looking for the luxury product of that elite tight end.
Yeah.
First guy kind of on my board down the line, and I've said this story. Everybody said this story for the past couple of years. I'm ready to get hurt again. Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Atlanta. I mean, the guy cannot get it together ever in the season, but they got a new head coach.
Got a new quarterback.
Raheem Morris is a pretty good offensive coordinator. He was running that show over in L.A. last year for the Rams. It sounds like Pitts is going to be a focal point of the offense. You mentioned that they got the new quarterback in Kirk Cousins.
Yep.
It's looking like it lines up decent this year. Space.
No, I think it lines up better than any year before. So, I mean, I think you could have a big year with all the surrounding pieces that they now have there.
Yeah, if they can get him to score like a wide receiver too, that's where the value fantasy-wise comes into it. They're projecting him to go in the 5th round right now. I think, it's worth the gamble if you can get him in that area, because I think his production just could be absolutely unbelievable.
Definitely worth the gamble. I agree with you.
Yeah. And then I think the next guy on my board here, another guy that's kind of getting the increased workload based off of a change in the situation. We talked about Buffalo having to move on from Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
Diggs needing to move on. Dalton Kincaid, the tight end over in Buffalo, has now become the top receiving target in Buffalo with Diggs leaving. His workload should be much higher. He should be that number one target for Allen. Who's going to score points? I like
They've had the most time together.
A ton of time together. Played very well late last year, too. I think he's going to finish in the top 5 of the tight ends by the end of the year. And they got him going in the 6th round right now. Late 6th round. 5th, maybe late 5th if you want to.
That'd be a great selection down at, that juncture of the draft.
Yeah, I think you're getting close to the production that you'll get with Kelsey, Laporta, and Andrews there with Kincaid. And then the last guy on my list, I think this guy's going to be kind of he's a rookie, and he's kind of going to be a utility player in an offense that needed weapons.
Oh, God, did they ever.
Oh, man.
They're hard to watch.
I'm talking about Brock Bowers over there, the tight end for the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders. Bowers is a rookie, obviously, like Speaks spoke to. Big part of the Georgia offense many years.
Dude was an animal over there, man.
Top target. Everything was running through him. It is Brock Bowers' show in Georgia, basically, for the last couple of years.
He balled out, man.
Raiders don't really have another receiving target other than Devontae Adams. All of a sudden, you bring in Bowers. Where's he going to add some value with the touches that he's going to get? I know he's going to get touches. I think he finishes in the top 8 tight ends this year. They got him projected to go in the 8th. I'm going to be looking at him in the 7th, 8th there.
Yeah, I mean, if he's still there at the 8th, I mean, you snatch him up because I draft him a lot earlier. With the production I saw to him year in, year out at Georgia, the offense went through him, let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about a situation with Bowers where it could be similar to Laporta.
Yeah. This year?
Yeah.
Like Laporta had last year. Yeah,
exactly.
I can see that.
Where Laporta was asked to do a lot.
Yeah,
but
as a rookie.
He succeeded with being asked to do a lot. I think it's going to be similar there. I think Bowers is incredible value.
Same. I love everything about the guy, his personality, his demeanor. Bowers is a great pick.
Yeah, I think he'll help a lot of teams get to victories this year. And then the last position, we're not going to dive into kickers because it's Tucker and then the
figure it out.
Crew, whatever your last pick is, take a kicker. Don't take a kicker before the last pick.
I got a sleeper, Bates, baby. Jake Bates out of Detroit. He's the cherry on top we were missing.
Could be concerns with the consistency there, but
not worried about it. Not worried about it.
But other than the kicker, the other position group to look at here is the defensive side.
Yes.
And when I'm looking at the team defenses that I can get this year, the first team that I'm looking at is that Baltimore Ravens. They're going to run defenses.
Their defense is never good.
Never. It's not like it's a yearly thing, right?
No.
Continue to add talent. Continue to add to the pass rush. I mean, they're going to be elite again this year.
Yep.
I think the Ravens are at the top of my board there. San Francisco is going to be elite
More
again.
of the same.
Yep, San Francisco 49ers, still one of the top defenses.
Lots of takeaways.
Look at them. Cleveland, a little bit farther down, probably in that next echelon when you're talking about defenses, because Baltimore and San Fran will be in that top of the list that people are going to be taking. Cleveland Browns, man. Cleveland Browns last year finished towards the top of the league in the defensive side. And like when you're looking at Myles Garrett, you're looking at the pieces they got.
I mean, they're a damn good defense.
Yeah, I think Cleveland's in for another good year defensively. I think they would be a pretty good value pick late. And then I like what Philly's doing.
Gardner Johnson's back over there.
Gardner Johnson, the secondary's getting a little better.
Yep.
I think Philly's going to be in good shape again with that pass rush.
I think so too, man. I think they're going to be in great shape.
Yep. And then the last team, people always sleep on them.
They do sleep on them if they ball out.
Yeah, every year.
Yeah.
And
they might start off slow.
Yeah, and Cleveland and Philly are kind of in that lower echelon too.
Yeah.
And this team, for whatever reason, falls into the lower echelon too with people selecting. The Kansas City Chiefs are good defensively every year.
Up front, secondary, they're solid.
They got it.
Yeah.
And they're towards the bottom or mid-tier of the defenses, and I think, or defenses, and I think that would be a great pick for you here too.
Yeah.
I think all those defenses put you in a pretty good spot. Little fancy football tip from BK here. I always like to kind of get two top defenses so I can play them based off of matchup weekly.
It's a smart play there, BK. I like that.
Something to think about.
Don't give all your secrets.
I don't want to give up all the secrets. But that's a little bit of what I got there.
That's a good one.
But that's all we got for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you find the fantasy football information.
Yeah, we'll change piece at you guys.
Yeah, I hope you find it to be helpful and leads you to some championships this year. But thanks again. Till next time.